Hey guys, it's Chris at Highline Guitars. You're watching another one of my YouTube guitar building videos. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I hope that by the end of this video, I'll have earned the honor and privilege of your subscription. What I'm going to talk about in today's video is I'm going to explain what I consider to be the 5 most common types of guitar builders that are out there. And this is not a definitive list. There's no international association of luthiers who have sanctioned this list. It's just based on my observations. So I'd be curious to know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Let us know if you think there are other types of guitar builders, and let us know what type of guitar builder you are. So the first type of guitar builder on my list is the hobby builder. And I have a feeling that a lot of you watching fall into that category. You're hobby builders. You're not necessarily building guitars for a profit, although some of you may build and sell your guitars in order to keep the hobby self-sustaining. Hobby builders typically use old school, traditional power tools and hand building techniques to build their guitars. Because for hobby builders, it's an act of relaxation and enjoyment, and they really are passionate about experiencing the joy of carving and sanding and routing a guitar by hand. It gives them a great deal of satisfaction. And hobby builders will often build maybe 1 or 2 guitars, sometimes more than that, depending on how passionate they are about the hobby. Usually they're building for themselves, although they have been known to build for family and friends, maybe as gifts. And as I said, it can sometimes be a self-sustaining hobby, so that they'll build a guitar, they'll sell it, and then they'll use that money to fund the next build. But that's not true in every case. Now, some hobby builders are starting to explore the world of CNC. In fact, some people become hobby builders because they have a CNC machine and they're looking for projects to do. And one of the projects that they can do with their CNC machine is to build a guitar. So that's the first type of guitar builder. The second is the custom builder. A custom builder is somebody who is making a profit building guitars. Now, this may not be a full-time endeavor. It may only be a side gig for a little extra money on the side. However, it can be a full-time operation. And what the custom builder is doing is they're building guitars based on the expectation and the demands of a customer. For example, a customer may contact them either through email or text messaging, or they may even meet with them in person, and they'll discuss the type of guitar they would like the builder to make for them. The builder will then gather all the information. They'll determine the type of parts and materials, the finish, everything that will go into the guitar. And then they'll work up a quote. And once that quote is accepted by the customer, a deposit is made by the customer and the build begins. And once the build is completed, the customer would then pay the outstanding balance, and then the guitar would be shipped to the customer, and hopefully everybody ends up happy. The custom builder isn't looking at building in high volumes. They're building one guitar for one customer and then moving on to the next. Now, and sometimes they can be building several different projects at the same time, but they're not focused on volume. They just want to build really high quality instruments for their customer. Now, sometimes they're using the traditional woodworking power tools and hand building techniques because that's what their customers are expecting, and it's why the customer contacted them in the first place. But some are also transitioning over into CNC technology as well, because they recognize how CNC can open doors in terms of creativity. So that's the custom builder. The next type of builder is the artisanal builder. Now, the artisanal builder is somebody who wants to build and sell the guitars that they make. But like the custom builder, they're not interested in large volumes. What they're interested in is building their vision and their idea of the perfect guitars. So every guitar they build is unique and different. And they'll build them and then they'll put them up for sale, usually on a site like Reverb or eBay, or they may have their own site where they've set up a store to sell the guitars that they build. But their passion is building what they would consider to be their form of artistic expression. They're building guitars as works of art. And they're not really interested in building the same guitars over and over and over. They're looking at expressing their innermost passions about guitars in every build that they make. So every guitar is usually different. They're finished differently. And what they try to do is they try to build a reputation for instruments that are not only unique and one of a kind, but are of very high quality, the highest level of craftsmanship possible. But they typically won't accept commissions from customers because they don't want the customer determining the design. They want to determine the design themselves. So that's the artisanal builder. Now the fourth type of builder is the batch builder. And a batch builder is usually a small shop luthier, somebody who may be working alone, or they may have one or two employees. But what they do is they create a design and then they build that design in batches. Could be 5, could be 10 guitars. And what they'll do is they'll build all those batches and then they'll put them up for sale, typically on their website, sometimes Reverb and eBay, but usually on their own website. And they offer them as a batch. And then you can, as a customer, you can purchase one of those guitars. And then once all the guitars are sold, they'll offer up another batch. And it's a way to build guitars and earn a living if you plan it out correctly. But typically, there isn't a lot of customization involved. There might be a little bit sometimes, but typically the batch builder is going to purchase all the parts and materials for the entire batch, and then they're going to build all those guitars. They may try to finish them a little bit differently, and they may make some guitars with a two-pneumatic bridge and others with Floyd Rose tremolos, others with Fender-style hardtail bridges or tremolo bridges. They may offer some variety within a batch, but typically what you see is what you get. And it's a way for the customer to get a unique, one-of-a-kind instrument. And it's a way for the builder to make a profit building those guitars. So that's the batch builder. Now the final builder is the factory builder. The factory builder is typically again, it's a small shop luthier, but they may have more employees. Because what they're doing is they're building lots of guitars. And they'll come up with a design for their guitars. And then they just build them nonstop. And they just keep building them, turning them out, cranking them out. They're all about volume. Now, they may not be on the same level as Fender or Gibson in terms of volume, or Ibanez or PRS or anything like that, but they're trying to reach that level. That's their aspiration. They want to be a factory making lots of guitars, and they want to have a real impact in the entire world of guitar building. They want everyone to know who they are, what their brand is, and what they produce. So they're trying to ramp up to accommodate the type of volume that's necessary to do that. They rarely are using traditional woodworking power tools and hand building techniques, although they will have some of those tools in their shops. They're going to have the drill presses, the band saws, planers, joiners, because those are all part of the process of prepping the material. But they rely extensively on CNC technology to rapidly produce the bodies, the necks, and the fretboards so that they can keep that volume going and hopefully increase the volume as time goes by. So that's pretty much what the factory builder is. Now, I'm sure there may be other types of guitar builders out there that maybe you've experienced, or maybe some of you watching will say, yeah, I'm a builder, but I don't really fit into any one of those categories. Let me know in the comment section down below. I think it'd be kind of interesting. I think it's important for people as they are trying to decide whether to be a hobby builder or whether to actually make money building guitars. They need to have a business plan if you're going to try to build guitars for profit. So you have to be able to identify the type of luthier that you are now and where you aspire to be in the future. So knowing what these different guitar builder types are, I think is really important in that endeavor. So some of you may be wondering, what kind of a guitar builder am I? And that's a fair question. And the answer is kind of interesting because at one time or another, I've been 4 of those 5 different types. I started out as a hobby builder. Then I transitioned over into doing commission builds. And from there, I transitioned over into, well, I didn't actually become a factory builder, but I sort of aspired to it for a while. And I was actually trying to set things up to be a factory builder. But then I ended up transitioning into the artisanal builder. As a hobby builder, I was building guitars for my son and for myself, as well as some family and friends. Then I started to build guitars and sell them in order to make it a self-sustaining hobby. But from there, I naturally transitioned into doing commission builds because people would contact me and ask me if I could build a custom guitar for them. And I actually set up my business to be a commissioned guitar builder. However, as time passed, I became very dissatisfied with building commissions for other people. I was interested in building my own designs. And so I decided I'm going to try to go more into the factory type guitar builder. And so I purchased CNC equipment and I started heading down that path. But then I started to lose interest in that because once you go down the factory path, you sort of begin to lose the joy of building guitars, or at least what the joy was in the very beginning. So I decided instead that I would no longer accept commission builds and I wasn't going to try to do mass production. Instead, I was going to do artisanal builds, one guitar at a time, building them the way I want to build them, finishing them the way I want them finished, and putting them up to sell, and then moving on to the next build. Sometimes I'm doing 2 or 3 guitars at a time, but rarely do I exceed more than 1 or 2 guitars at a time because I like to really focus on each individual build. So right now I consider myself to be an artisanal builder. I hope you found this video to be useful and maybe thought-provoking. If so, please click the thumbs up button. That's so important. I can't stress that enough. And if you want to take your support to the next level, you can visit eguitarplans.com or my Highline Guitars merch store. There's links in the description below. Or you can just click the thanks button down below. And at any rate, until the next episode, as always, take care, stay safe, and I hope you'll be back for more future guitar building videos.